I mean, it depends who you ask. I think that the more people have been, I mean, I think that he is an example of his prosecution. The charges against him are one of the biggest attacks on freedom of the press that we've seen. And
in this episode of Real Time with Bill Maher finds himself outmatched once again. Much like in previous episodes where he invited guests to debate on his own show, both Gabby and Matthews demonstrate superior preparation, employing logic and sound reasoning throughout the discussion. Meanwhile, Maher struggles to keep up with the flow of the conversation. This isn't a rare occurrence, as there are numerous instances where Maher faces challenges from well-informed guests, leaving him at a disadvantage during debates. Next voice. It seems like Bill Maher is returning to his familiar approach of inviting knowledgeable guests like Tulsi Gabbard and Chris Matthews to discuss topics where they clearly have more expertise than him. If the U.S. government hadn't made the decisions it has, especially since 2020, more people might likely agree with the perspective Bill Maher is presenting. The actions, statements, and overall approach of the government have caused a significant shift in public opinion over the years, with a particularly noticeable change recently. Our understanding of what America stands for has evolved drastically. We were led to believe that our involvement in foreign nations was justified, that we were spreading democracy and liberating people from oppressive regimes. However, many people are starting to wake up, partly due to independent journalists and also because of the government's actions, which have become so blatant that it feels like they no longer care if we see through their agenda. They're not even trying to conceal it anymore. So, when Bill Maher suggests that spies are the true patriots, it doesn't sit well with me. While I acknowledge that there are government employees, including spies, who likely do good work for the country, the reality is that the government hasn't been doing much that benefits the public lately. It feels like everything is driven by the goal of re-election, rather than making meaningful improvements. That's why I believe everything should be exposed aside from sensitive military projects, of course. National security is a valid concern. But what Julian Assange did, exposing the truth about what the government is doing when it's not in the public's best interest, was crucial. I can't agree with Bill Maher on this. Let me know your thoughts, though. I'm sure some of you may disagree, but I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments.
It looks very good right now, and what he did. And the Pentagon Papers was about how the Kennedy administration, the Johnson administration, not Nixon, what they did to lie about the war.
Well, I don't know all the particulars. I mean, you'd have to really spend months and months going through the amount of stuff he put out. But in general, I think the world's full of bad people. Like I was saying to Ray, the world's full of bad people. And yeah, I think sometimes you need somebody to put the hammer down. I think Obama said this, and just say, I'm sorry, you can't expose our secret agents, and we have to think of our security first. Yeah. I mean, yes, I'm sure the government does some gnarly things, but I don't like this. I don't like a guy who pretends that he's the patriot when it's the spies out there who are protecting this country, not Julian Assange. Because there are people who want to destroy this country. And there are people who are plotting to get nuclear weapons and all the rest of it. And this guy is not the one who made sure.
I completely agree, and it seems that more and more people are waking up to the fact that when we hear claims about democracy being under attack, like those often made about Trump, it's largely a political tactic. It feels like an attempt to sway public opinion and boost Biden's chances of winning. I doubt the strategy will succeed, but what's different now is that these tactics are becoming more visible because mainstream media no longer controls the narrative like it once did. People are increasingly rejecting the narratives coming from outlets like Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC, regardless of their political leanings. Instead, they're turning to independent journalists and platforms like Russell Brand or Joe Rogan to get their news. This shift away from mainstream media is revealing many things that have been happening behind the scenes for years. Whether it's the weaponization of institutions like the DOJ or the suppression of whistleblowers like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, as Tulsi Gabbard pointed out, the erosion of press freedom has been ongoing. But now, as independent voices speak out more people are starting to see the bigger picture. There are still figures in the media who are willing to spread falsehoods for profit, but it's encouraging to see some like Candace Owens speaking their minds and striving for the truth.
What?
Oh, it's good.
No, me too. Has pled guilty to espionage and secured his freedom. I didn't see this coming, by the way. I didn't think he'd ever get out. What will his legacy be? Yes.
Time served. Time served. He served 6 years, and that's what he's getting.
No, but they're talking about his legacy, and that's what I want to know. Is he a heroic crusader exposing government lies, or he is a reckless traitor?
I have to agree with Tulsi Gabbard 100% on this one. Let me know in the comments if you agree or not, but here's how I see it. While I understand where Bill Maher is coming from, we need to step back and objectively examine what the government has been doing. There's been a lot of questionable behavior. If the government is spying on foreign entities, that's one thing. Maybe that kind of work doesn't need to be exposed. But when the government oversteps within the U.S. and journalists uncover that those journalists have a duty to expose the truth, the U.S. government and the DOJ, just as importantly, have a responsibility not to punish these journalists for doing their job. This isn't just an isolated instance. Tulsi Gabbard schooled Bill Maher on this issue, and Chris Matthews gave him a reality check in a recent episode. In fact, there was another moment I highlighted yesterday that was just as satisfying: Bill Maher getting completely outmatched on his own show. It's always interesting to see Maher bring on guests who challenge him on his own platform. Thank you for your interest. Please like and subscribe to the channel to catch the next videos. Have a great day.
To Ray, the world's full of bad people. And yeah, I think sometimes you need somebody to put the hammer down. I think Obama said this, and just say, I'm sorry, you can't expose our secret agents. And we have to think of our security first. Yeah. I mean, yes, I'm sure the government does some gnarly things, but I don't like this. I don't like a guy who pretends that he's the patriot when it's the spies out there who are protecting this country, not Julian Assange. Because there are people who want to destroy this country. And there are people who are plotting to get nuclear weapons and all the rest of it. And this guy is not the one who made sure that we have not.
The numbers of people we were killing and the way we were winning the war. No, we're going to get there sooner or later because we're killing them all. No, it wasn't true.
Yeah.
But that's different. We attack them. This guy, he is exposing people who are protecting us. We're the ones who have been attacked.
Okay, I agree.
But what he exposed really is how our own government was violating our own civil liberties and trying to cover up things that were very embarrassing
to
our government. And I think that's the essence of the responsibility of a free press and why it's so important for our democracy.